At 73, Gerald still wore his old running shoes like medals. They were worn, faded, and smelled vaguely of damp earth, but they reminded him of who he'd always been: an athlete, a fighter, someone who didn't slow down. So he kept running, 5 miles every other day, weights on the off days, and a weekend hike to cap things off. Keep pushing, he told himself, like he had for 50 years. But lately his knees throbbed at night, his heart raced oddly when he stood too fast, and his recovery days were turning into recovery weeks. Still he refused to quit. "You stop moving, you die," he repeated often. But the truth was harder to ignore now. His joints weren't just sore, they were damaged. His balance was more fragile. And one cold morning, as he jogged down the trail behind his neighborhood, Gerald tripped over a root and landed hard on his shoulder. A fractured clavicle, 3 cracked ribs, and a long talk with a very blunt doctor followed. "Gerald," she said, "you've got the drive of a 40-year-old, but the body of a man in his 70s. It's time to adjust." He didn't want to hear it. But when she added, "If you keep pushing like this, your body will quit before you do," something in him shifted. Gerald wasn't alone. Around the world, more seniors are staying active than ever before, but some are overdoing it. It's not just the stereotype of marathon-loving septuagenarians. It's the daily gym goers, the retirees chasing their former peak with punishing routines, unaware that after 70, the rules change. And sometimes, survival means knowing when to stop charging forward and start moving smarter. That's what Gerald eventually did, and what saved his body, and arguably, his independence. Because what he discovered weren't just replacements for exercise, but 3 life-changing alternatives that worked with his aging body, not against it. Number 1, trade intensity for intentional movement. After his fall, Gerald spent weeks in physical therapy. It frustrated him at first. The exercises seemed so simple: ankle rolls, chair squats, resistance bands. "I used to deadlift more than this elastic noodle," he grumbled. But the therapist explained something he'd never considered: that after 70, the goal wasn't breaking records. It was maintaining mobility, balance, and coordination. The movements he'd ignored for decades, like shifting weight from one leg to the other or slowly rising from a chair, were now key to keeping him on his feet. Over time, Gerald discovered Tai Chi. A neighbor invited him to a local class in the park. It felt odd at first, all that slow, flowing motion, hands in the air, steps so deliberate they were almost hypnotic. But it engaged his entire body, gently, safely. His balance improved. The stiffness in his shoulders lessened. His mind quieted. He still missed the rush of a sprint, but he realized he'd rather move well for the next 20 years than collapse chasing the past. 2. Focus on recovery as a daily practice. When Gerald was younger, rest was just the day between workouts. Now, it was an active part of his health strategy. His doctor explained it bluntly: recovery isn't what happens after exercise. It's what keeps your muscles, heart, and brain working at all. So Gerald learned to stretch every morning, not for flexibility, but for circulation. He started taking short walks after meals instead of pushing himself to jog. He took naps without guilt. He began listening to his body's signals, not fighting them. Most importantly, he worked on sleep. Deep, quality sleep became his new performance metric. He kept a routine bedtime. No screens late at night. A darker, quieter room. More magnesium-rich foods. He even practiced breathing techniques before bed. His mind cleared. His energy returned, without lifting a single weight. In his 70s, Gerald discovered what no personal trainer had ever told him: rest isn't weakness, it's the foundation of strength. 3. Prioritize functional strength, not aesthetic fitness. Before the fall, Gerald had trained to look strong. He liked seeing his biceps in the mirror, his chest still firm. But after weeks of needing help to shower and dress, he realized something deeper. Strength meant independence. So he began a new kind of strength training. Not for show, but for function. He worked with a senior fitness coach who gave him movements he'd never thought of as real workouts. Carrying groceries in one hand and balancing with the other. Getting up from the floor without using his arms. Reaching overhead safely. Turning his neck side to side. It seemed mundane, but it was revolutionary. He no longer measured progress by weight plates. He measured it by how well he could lift a box from the garage shelf, how steady he felt in the shower, how easily he could open a jar. And slowly his body responded, not by growing bigger, but by moving better. His back pain faded, his shoulder healed, his confidence returned. Not the bravado of a younger man, but the quiet certainty that he could manage his life unassisted. A year after his fall, Gerald returned to the trail where it had happened. This time he walked, slowly, intentionally. He paused often, not because he was tired, but because he noticed things he'd always run past: birdsong in the trees, the texture of bark, the breeze rising through the pines. He still missed the adrenaline of his younger days, but he didn't long for them, because now he had something better, a body that worked with him, not against him. He'd learned that aging isn't a war you fight with dumbbells and distance. It's a partnership. And the sooner you honor the changes in your body, the longer you get to enjoy what it can still do. In the end, Gerald didn't stop exercising. He evolved, and it saved his life.